valued partners, and our distinguished guest for joining us on this special occasion. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. So can we start our day with a huge round of applause? So before I start, once again, I'll request everyone to please keep your cell phones on silent. Thank you so much. So as we all know, the Indian Express has always essayed a leadership role in raising pertinent issues across industry verticals. The publication takes great pride in playing the role of facilitator and encouraging debate and discussion amongst its various stakeholders, communities, in order to drive meaningful change. The State of Hope series attempts to delve into the transformative power of infrastructure development in shaping India's future. This edition focuses on Gujarat, and we are privileged to have our Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel, the esteemed Chief Minister of Gujarat, as our chief guest for the day. And he'll be joining us very soon. So we are delighted to share that we're also live streaming today on indianexpress.com and on Indian Express YouTube channel. So together with our partners, our presenting partner, Adani Group, co-presenting partner Gujarat Informatic Limited and Word Wizard Innovations and Mobility Limited, our associate partners are Farms and Pharmaceuticals Gujarat Private Limited, Unison Insurance Broking Private Limited, Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University, ONGC Cambay Asset, Indian Oil Corporation Gujarat Refinery, Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizers and Chemicals, Gujarat Energy Development Agency, Gujarat Urban Development Company, Gujarat Urban Development Mission, and Gujarat State Aviation Infrastructure Company Limited. So ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward to our panel discussion of the day, which is on the topic Infrastructure, the Promise of Transformational Development. So may I invite Mr. Hitesh Vyas, Assistant Editor, The Indian Express, for moderating today's session. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? Now may I invite our panelists to please join us on the stage. Jigna Desai, Professor, CEPT University. Rachna Gangwar, Professor, Adani University. Rajkumar Benewal, Vice Chairman and CEO, Gujarat Maritime Board. And he'll be joining us a bit late. Sameer Sinha, Founder and MD, Savvy Group. B.N. Pani, CEO, Gujarat Infrastructure Development Board. She'll also join a bit late. Okay, can we have a huge round of applause for all of them? Now we can proceed with the panel discussion.
Good evening, Good evening and warm welcome to all the dignitaries of the dais on the dais. As you know, today's topic is infrastructure, the promise of transformational development. Infrastructure is vital for any country's economic development. It has a multiplier impact on the economy, and it's very essential for sustainable and inclusive growth. Over the last many years, we have seen infrastructure development happening across the sectors, right from ports, housing, constructions, airports, telecom, and of late, we are seeing digital infrastructure in the country. Recognizing the importance of infrastructure in the country, the government has scaled up its pace of investment in infrastructures. In budget 2023-24, the government announced a capital expenditure of rupees 10 lakh crore, which was 38% over the previous year. In the interim budget, the government announced an outlay of rupees 11.11 lakh crore. The government, through budgetary allocation as well as dedicated programs, have helped in development of the remotest part of the country. When we talk about Gujarat, it has been making a significant progress in the infrastructure development. We have seen it, and it has been a pioneer in public-private infrastructure. It has been credited as Asia's biggest investment infrastructure opportunity center. Gujarat has strategically developed very significant and cost-effective infrastructure. It has got an impressive road and railway networks and port infrastructure. Without further ado, I'd like our esteemed panelists to share their views on the topic. I'll invite each of the panelists. I would start with Dr. Rachna to share her thoughts.
Very good evening, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here as a part of this esteemed panel. And thank you, the Indian Express team, for giving the opportunity. I will talk about the transport and logistics infrastructure. And as we know, the spending, as what Hitesh has just mentioned, has scaled up number of times, multifold in the past few years, and significant share of it has gone to transport infrastructure. If we look at the investments in the road and now in the railways, it has never been like before. The railways share has scaled up to, I think, out of this 10 trillion, 2 point something has gone to rail. So that is the kind of investment that is happening across the country in the transport infrastructure, and Gujarat has always been a pioneer when it comes to infrastructure development and particularly the transport and logistics infrastructure. The first port policy, I think the first state also in the country to announce a port policy was Gujarat. It was in 1995. And we can see the development that has happened in the state because of that single policy and initiative. So now out of the total maritime traffic that has been handled, 40% of that is from Gujarat and from the total traffic. And we have two kind of ports, major ports by the central government and the minor ports. So minor ports handle 65%. That is the share from Gujarat. So that is the kind of development that has happened because of that. So, and Gujarat has been a pioneer in many other things when it comes to transport infrastructure and other ways also. So they were the first to announce also the PPP policy. They had enacted a legal framework, and GIDB was established after that. Again, that was late 90s. And and if we look at how the growth of transport infra has been, particularly in Gujarat, the western dedicated corridor, Gujarat will be immensely benefited by that, by the western dedicated corridor. More than, I think, 35% of the western corridor will be in Gujarat, and it will help a lot, again, shift the share from to rail. And of course, because with the growing industrialization in this country, in the state, will take a significant share. Otherwise, also the expressways, the highways, the Gujarat has a significant share. So the Gujarat has always been at a forefront when it comes to the transport infrastructure, and a lot of policy initiatives have been taken by Gujarat. And because of that, we see that the pace of the infrastructure and the quality of infrastructure and the environment on development of infrastructure is in the state is far more better than many other states in the country. So Gujarat has been always at the forefront, and this has been about the freight. And even if we look at the passenger side of it on the transport, we have almost 11 airports, operational airports in Gujarat, and recently now a lot of initiatives are being taken. In the Ahmedabad airport now we have this MRO facility. There are talks being discussed about the air freight station being set up at Surat. So we do have also this logistics cell at GIDB. So the transport infrastructure, which are the enabler for any state or for the country in their growth, they're very important. And the Gujarat has been, I mean, if we go by any of the statistics, we would see that the Gujarat has been in the forefront of the transport infrastructure development.
Dr. Rachna, you spoke about transport infrastructure. So with growing rapid industrializations, how do you think the current infrastructure will be able to meet the demand?
So yes, there are still missing links that have to be worked upon, and if we look at the challenges that we have, right now what is happening is because of the lot of investments have gone in the highways, so lot of traffic is moving on road. So one of the policy initiatives of the government also is because of the And I think a lot of initiatives are being taken, but that's going to be still a challenge because the last mile and first mile sometimes is by road. So that's what I can say.
Mr. Samir, I would like you to share your perspective.
Thank you, Hitesh. First of all, thank you to Indian Express for organizing this. I think this is extremely relevant and something that is very, very the need of the hour today. Let me try and give you a real estate perspective to infrastructure because that is my domain of expertise and I wish I could elaborate on. Infrastructure is a very, very big word. Nothing impacts real estate and real estate prices more than transportation. And that's exactly what ma'am has been talking about. What is the price of real estate based on? It's based on the commute. The prices in Bodakdev would not be that high if the commute from, let's say, Bhopal or Ring Road to the center of the city was 10 minutes. And if that could change, the prices would actually drop. And hence, infrastructure, the roads, the connectivity, the transportation, the modes of transportation affects real estate and the prices of real estate, and hence the economy of the state more than anything else does. Besides that, something that we don't think about sometimes when we talk about infrastructure is something which Gujarat has done extremely well is policy. Nothing impacts our markets as well as policy does. And let me give you a very good example of how Gujarat has done well. Gift City is one of the best examples in the country of a great green city developed where you can literally have a walk to work. There is district cooling. There is, you build your footprint. Everything else besides that is taken care of by the development authority. The permissions are granted. I can start work within a few weeks of allotment of land in Gift City. This is not possible anywhere else in the country, right? Literally the gestation, and we were having this discussion with Sunil Bhai just before this, that if you have to start a project in Bombay, it takes you 4 years to break ground. In Ahmedabad, it takes you at least a year and a half, 2 years to break ground after buying land. In Gift City, you can start work literally within a month of getting your tender. And this has not happened anywhere else in the country. That is the kind of infrastructure that Gujarat has led by example. And look at the progress that Gift City has made in the last 10 years. the prices, the market, the quality of construction, the development, and literally plug and play. The tunnel is in place, the infrastructure is in place. For the first time in India, Gujarat has demonstrated that we can have infrastructure-led development, as opposed to what we've always seen all these years, development-led infrastructure, where we make buildings, we make apartments, people move in, then we start digging for cables. The cable guy moves out, then we start digging for the drainage. The drainage guy moves out, then we start digging for something else. That is a story that India has lived through, but the world has changed. And you should come and see what has happened, and I'm sure all of you have. But that is the way Gujarat has led in terms of policy, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of sustainability. Gift City is the first city in India where every building is mandated to be green by policy. It is not optional. So there's a level playing ground and everybody has to be sustainable. So that is the kind of infrastructure that really will change the world. That is the kind of infrastructure that India has led, Gujarat is leading with. One other aspect which I want to mention before I end up is sports. Another great area where we don't think about it as infrastructure. How can people play if there's no stadium? Cricket we can play in the gullies, but can you produce Sachin Tendulkars anymore only if you don't have the right cricket grounds? What about all the other sports that we're doing well? We need sports infrastructure. That is another area that Gujarat is really taking the lead with the kind of vision we have, and I'm 100% confident we'll have the Olympics with the way we are rooting for it, because we will develop the right kind of infrastructure, which is already happening. So these are the areas of infrastructure which is a government, a progressive government like Gujarat has thought about, which I honestly feel no other government has.
Samir, I just want to understand, you are into real estate and commercial development. So how are you ensuring that your projects are green projects in terms of sustainable and less carbon emissions?
So that's, again, I wish you hadn't asked me, because I can go on this topic. This is my favorite topic in the world, so please stop me whenever you feel like it. Sustainability is something that we as Savvy Group we were bitten by the sustainability bug almost 2 decades ago, and we have not stopped. Everything that we built is green. We have only built green. Actually, we were very, very engaged with the GIFT body when they were framing the policy to make sure that they can only make green buildings. So, and what I want to share is that this was something that when we started this whole sustainability pursuit, which is when it was a new word in the country, it was looked at as philanthropy. It was looked upon as something that you did because you cared about the environment. Today, and hence there was a word called, it was expensive sustainability. Then it became affordable sustainability. Today it is only profitable sustainability. If you are not sustainable, you cannot be profitable today. If you are not sustainable, think about it in this way: can you today have any company that actually is working against the environment or working against the society and hope it to be profitable? Not happening, because today's young India does not accept that anymore. So there will be no option today, not only because also another area which Gujarat government has led. We were the first government in India to have a Department of Climate Change. That building in Gandhinagar was the first platinum rated green building in the country that a government had built. And even today, the policies are very, very progressive, and there is enough incentive and more for sustainable development, and there is no looking back now.
Professor Desai, can you share your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you, Indian Express, for inviting me as a part of this panel discussion. And I was first a little surprised why am I invited for this discussion, because I look at historic cities and historic places. But now that I'm listening to both of them talk, and I'm really glad that you brought up that 20 years ago this question of sustainability was looked at as a philanthropic exercise, and now you only look at it as a profitable exercise. I absolutely agree with this idea that it
Gujarat as a state has really pushed this idea of looking at built environment, looking at infrastructure from the point of view of sustainable development, and yes, one of the first states to have a climate change department. So whatever I'm going to say is I'm going to say with a sense of hope that as of now, this discussion about historic cities, heritage, historic infrastructure is also looked at from a philanthropic lens and is looked at from the lens of historic places and historic infrastructure as being looked at a liability. I want to make a proposal here to say that, well, it's really not. I was looking through the municipalities and municipal corporations of Gujarat, little more than 150, 160. Almost 120 of them have historic cores. They have historic cities around which newer cities are developing. There are many of these that were connected through transport with the rest of the world through fantastic historic infrastructure. And some of those bridges, especially the railway bridges, are very well taken care of. And if you travel through certain areas around the country, around Gujarat, in railway, you'll find these beautiful historic bridges, really well maintained, and gives you the character of the place. There are many cities, Upleta, Gondal, Bhuj, Ahmedabad, Baroda, name many of these historic cities. They had fantastic water infrastructure. They continue to have fantastic water infrastructure. That was historic. I'm not trying to romanticize here and say that everything that was there in history was good and we need to all work with that. There's some of it which will not live up to the modern standards, and I understand that. And we need to maybe identify what we preserve. We need to move on. Some of this infrastructure, however, can be augmented. There was this very recent study that I was looking at in the city of Bhuj and in the city of Gondal, where the water infrastructure is designed so well in the 17th, 18th century, and for such large amount of urban conglomeration, that if we seriously study it, and it looks at the way water flows, it looks at the way where reservoirs are built, it looks at what are the channels. So some of these are very efficient systems, some of them using canals. I think new infrastructure should be considering to augment it rather than saying we'll start from scratch and we will build over it. Similarly, some of the road bridges, some of the mobility infrastructure, talked about sustainability. Many of these historic cities, Gujarat is also one of the first states to have the first World Heritage City of the country. And we kind of put them out there by saying that they are walkable, they are energy efficient, they are sustainable. Once again, not romanticizing them, a lot needs to be done with it. But why don't we take them up as the way they are and augment that reality, augment that space that they are in? Unfortunately, I think, and that is where I think we need to have this discussion where instead of historic places and historic infrastructure being looked at as this thing that we also need to address, like sustainability was 20 years ago. Just now what we do is we skirt the historic city, or we build a parallel bridge, or we do something to say, well, that's something we need to take care of, but not useful. I think we need to do research on that, just like we did research on sustainability. Gujarat put in a lot of effort in researching sustainability and building infrastructure that was sustainable. I think if we put in our efforts there, we will be able to retain the beauties of our city, and it can be something, our cities can have deep histories while they can also have a very bright future. And I think that is, it's saying all of that is possible with what we have.
We have seen that migration happening from smaller towns to cities. So our cities in the state, they are equipped to meet that growing demand?
Sorry.
Any of the panelists can.
No, I've studied migration, especially in the historic cores and how then they expand. So I'll speak from those that point of view. I think what Samir was saying is very important, that for the longest of time, migration would happen and infrastructure would develop as a response to those groups of people accumulating around the centers of the city. And I think that shift of providing transport in many of these large cities that think about potential migration, potential possibility of somebody possibly settling on the periphery but having access to the center of the city, like Ahmedabad Metro. I know of many people who stay on the peripheries because those are affordable places to live in, but are able to travel to their work in 20 minutes flat. And I think these infrastructures are going to make that possible for sure. But I'll just add a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little more time. Ahmedabad Metro is actually one of the very good examples that also took care of the fact that it was going through the historic city, went underground where there is historic city, and it provides 3 stations that come out in the historic city and potentially reducing the congestion within the city. So I think it's a fantastic example of how one can take care of it all. And I think that is, yeah.
I think that's a wonderful example. I'm sorry I'm butting in, and I wish more people would use it. I have used that metro, and you're so right. There is a metro station right outside of Teen Darwaja, and you don't even notice it. It's so nicely done. It's underground, and it's a brilliant station. This Uttarayan I was there, and it's the best mode of transportation to take if you want to go to the old city. And I really hope that as journalists, all of us must go and see it. If you have not written about it, if you're not photographed, if you're not printed about it, it's a crime. We must do it because people are not using it. Yeah. It's such a wonderful infrastructure we've built and we are not using that infrastructure. And one more point, I'm sorry Tesh, I'm grabbing too much time, but to her point about heritage, I think the same battle that we were fighting with sustainability, it has to become economical. Nothing will get done until and unless it makes economic sense. Today, sustainability is profitable because it has become economically viable 5 years ago, and now it is profitable to be sustainable. Absolutely. Heritage similarly has to become economically viable. We go to Europe and do this walk in the wonderful cities, and there's no traffic allowed there. But we will not allow that in Teen Darwaja. We will not block off the traffic because we still want the scooter fellow to take his scooter in front of his shop. Why can't we change our approach if we want to make our cities more sustainable, where we emulate the same thing in Europe?
Yeah, but I think the same, a corollary to that now we have a metro. It is possible. Now we have a BRT going through the city. It is possible. And the mobility of, and that's something that your area will come in, the mobility of that historic core can be rethought about. It can be reconsidered from the point of view of new infrastructure coming there. Yeah.
I just wanted to add to the point here, the sustainability being economical, because from the mobility, if you look at the example, the electric vehicles, why the electric vehicles, everyone knows they are sustainable, reduce the carbon emission, but because they were not economical, they were more expensive. So it is very, very important to bring the cost down and make the sustainability viable and economical for people, then only they will.
So do you think government should give more subsidy for encouraging such kind of sustainable development? What all need to be done from the government side?
The answer is yes. The answer is simply yes, because anything, you have to let people taste the pudding before they get addicted to it. So you have to have shops, you have to have incentivize it. Green buildings happen the same way. They still today, even today, there are large incentives. Government of Punjab gives you 5% additional FSI if you're making a gold rated green building. 5%. Government of Gujarat gives you a 5% discount on the stamp duty. And even that is a good incentive. So I'm saying there are governments that are doing great incentives, but these are not all-time incentives, these are not permanent, they are there to induce and create a market for green. Hence a market for things like this has to be created, which only a government can do. For example, Gift City, I keep coming back to the great example, or Dholera will be the same thing. You have created now an ecosystem which is so beautiful, which is so sustainable, and yet profitable. Why would you build anything else which is non-green now? Because now people have tasted that, you have experienced it.
Also shift to solar power is also a government subsidy and still continuing.
Renewables.
And then renewables, and I think slowly that will take on, everybody will want it. So I think that first push, it's not a permanent, he's right, it's not a permanent subsidization that one is looking for, but it creates a market, it creates that, shows that potential.
So from the mobility, I would like to add, because if we look at the metro projects, so sustainable, this without the subsidy, without the government support, it is not possible. And the criticism of that the metro ridership is less, this and that, it will take time to increase, but we cannot do without the government subsidy for these projects, and these are very, very important for the urban mobility. So this government subsidy for these projects is essential, and, that's very much required from the mobility.
See, one aspect I just want all of you to share your thoughts on is climate financing. So how is your experience, Samir?
Again, economies of scale worked out. Today, majority of the funds that is coming into this in the built environment from abroad, any of the pension funds, any of the sovereign funds from most nations that are coming in, are all mandating green. For whatever reason, they might be doing it for their own reasons, but they have been mandating green, and that has led to the entire ecosystem of sustainable built environment being developed. One example I can give you is, for example, Blackstone. All the money that comes into the warehousing sector in India is mandated green. And hence, in the last 5 years, every warehouse company has gone for green buildings. This is purely led by the investor. There was no demand for it. There was nobody asking it for it. But it is a two-way street. Now that there is a green building, now there's people have experienced it, the guy next door wants to do the same thing. And hence you establish a market. Same thing happened with the real estate business. One developer, when we started talking about green buildings, nobody had any clue what is green building. Then people discovered that my electricity bill in this building is 30% lower just by virtue of being in a building which is green. And so that means a 7 to 8 rupees a square feet rental increase. Why would you go to any other building? It takes time, like ma'am said. These are the things which will take some time. But the proof is there today, the market is there today, demand is building up, and it's a two-way street because even the funds that are coming in are mandating green. There should be, I think the only thing that we still need to work on is, because you are from that sector, is that there is not enough incentive in banks to fund green. They should be lending at a lower rate to green buildings or to green development.
I'll speak once again that in this discussion of, in context of historic buildings or heritage buildings, heritage is a kind of a social term. So if I have to get technical about it, let's just look at old buildings. So there is a lot of research going on internationally in this area, which says that existing buildings are embodied carbon. And if we just have to look at the carbon footprint of demolishing something and making a new building versus augmenting what is existing. This goes for infrastructure, this goes for building and built environment. And now there are technologies available where older buildings can be made into smart buildings or sustainable buildings. If it's a question of density, many of our older built environment are actually quite dense. So I don't think it's a question of density and fitting in more number of people. So I think if we start looking at these older building environment, not as just a social construct of heritage, but also a construct of climate and green, where that built environment or that building stock is embodied carbon, then I think the discussion of connecting historic places or older built environment with sustainability is actually much more, it starts making economic sense. So I think even from the climate finance point of view internationally, if you are dealing with or building your infrastructure for or working with existing embodied carbon, it actually gives you a lot, it gives you a lot more green points than starting from scratch. So I think that is a discussion also to be had from a climate finance point of view.
One more example of heritage, talking about heritage, one more policy about progressive policy by the government. If you restore a heritage building in Ahmedabad, you get FSI, which you can trade in the open market. No other city allows this, right? So I'm saying progressively, government of Gujarat is aware of this. They're doing the right things, and this is a wonderful example of how heritage restoration can be driven by the right kind of policy.
So we have other two panelists also with us. Mr. B. N. Pani, CEO, Gujarat Infrastructure Development Board, and Mr. Rajkumar Beniwal, Vice Chairman and CEO, Gujarat Maritime Board. Can we have a huge round of applause for them? Now we can continue with the discussion.
Welcome, Mr. Beniwal and Mr. Pani. I just wanted to share your thoughts on infrastructure-led growth in Gujarat. What is your experience? How do you see?
Thank you so much for inviting us, first of all, and apologies for a little delay. Not little, but quite delay. Infrastructure is a very important component for economic development. And all of you are aware that Gujarat and the entire country in last 10 years is focusing wholeheartedly for infrastructure, whether it is in terms of road, whether it is in terms of railways, in terms of ports, in terms of human resource, or maybe in terms of logistics, everywhere. And because of this focused approach, we are seeing the result on our economic growth. Even during COVID times, we have seen that our growth rates have been quite consistent. And now, and recently we have seen that the growth of our economy is going on upward trend. The reason behind it is infrastructure focus. Now, whenever we talk about infra, it's a very tricky subject. The reason being that it's not immediately profitable. Second point is it requires a lot of capital investment. Now, where will this capital come from? Who will invest? The government itself cannot do the entire investment, so we have to, of course, rope in the private sector. Now, private sector will come only they see some profit. For that, we need to have right kind of policies, because only policy environment can give the confidence among investors to invest such long gestation period projects. If I talk about, say, port sector, if I start taking private sector on board today, then it will take at least 10 to 15 years to realize that investment and get the profits. So the timeline you see in any infra project is such a long that private sector alone will never invest in this sector unless we have right kind of decisions, we have right kind of policies. And that is what we are doing in government, and we have been very successful. Second important point for infra is the vision. Where do you want to take this sector basically? If you see in a holistic way, in a broad way, it gives you much more benefits than what you can get in a normal industry. So, but it happens only and only when it is supported by right kind of policies and right kind of support from the government. For example, if I tell you about, say, port sector, right now Gujarat handles almost 40% cargo of the country, and we have around 500 million metric ton capacity overall. Gujarat coast, one of the longest coasts, 1600 kilometer coastline, 500 million metric ton of capacity. Now, if I talk about 2047, for that, what will be my requirement? I have to start planning for that today. For that, I have to have my policies, right policies today. Then only I will be able to get that kind of infra. So we have our vision of having this capacity 3 times or 4 times. Like our planning is to be 2 billion metric ton of cargo capacity from Gujarat coast. And for that, we are making our policies. For that, we are roping in the private sector. And whatever required for this entire ecosystem is being created. Thank you.
So I think as has already been said, in fact, infrastructure plays a very key role, because whatever other investment that we are doing is dependent on this basic thing called infrastructure. If you see infrastructure, then more so in case of you see logistics movement, if you see, then we spent almost earlier 13% of our cost for the logistics. Now overall it is less than 6% in the developed ones. Now fortunately, because of the investments in infrastructure sector, the logistics cost is reduced. Now it is close to 8 to 9 rupees. Now the overall system, if you see, there are a lot of things which are involved, and as has already been said, every infrastructure, whether it is road, rail, port, or any other infrastructure sector, this has to be with a big vision as to next 30 years hence, 40 years hence. And in the last 20 years, we have seen that in Gujarat, lot of good things have happened. Recently, for example, that Delhi Mumbai expressway is opened, and that reduces your travel time from Baroda to Bharuch by 25 minutes. So you see, and when you link these nodes of Dahej and Palej and Karjan with this expressway, then you see that it entire path gets blown up. If you see the DFC, for example, this is the most congested network from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, and this entire sector, because of the industrial corridors, for example, what the industrial corridors have done, these industrial corridors have ensured that your for example, port sector in Gujarat, it handles 40% of India's trade, export, import. So this all enabling environment is given by infrastructure. And infrastructure, if you see in Gujarat, it is not just about now when we are entering into semiconductor, when we are entering into deep tech technology, biotechnology and knowledge economy, we also have to see to it that HR is also there. So that infrastructure again we are creating. For example, 108 universities, IIMs are there, IIT Gandhinagar is there, and many more, GIFT City is also partnering with many abroad foreign universities. So I am saying, so infrastructure, if you see from that perspective, we are very, very fortunate, whether it is DFC, whether it is bullet train, and now that kind of a seamless connectivity. There are many firsts for Gujarat. For the first time, as he has said, for the capital investment, Gujarat created Gujarat Infrastructure Development Board for PPP in infrastructure sector. That is the first. For the first time, Dholera, if you see, it is the first greenfield smart city that way. If you see Dream City, it is having the biggest office building in the world, bigger than Pentagon. If you see logistics policy, it is the first. If you see HR policy for entrepreneurship and this thing development, SSIP policy is the first which promotes startups in the state. So there are many firsts for Gujarat, and in infrastructure sector, Gujarat has always remained in the forefront. Whether it is first time Gujarat Maritime Development Board was established. And because of all this, Gujarat is now getting the spin-off results. So the more the investment, the more the results you get in other sectors, not in infrastructure.
I think we are running out of time. Thank you all the panelists for sharing their insights on the topic. Yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone for such an insightful and interesting discussion. So So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chief guest of the evening, our Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? Thank you so much for gracing this occasion. Now may I invite Ms. Leena Mishra, Resident Editor, The Indian Express, to present the welcome address. Can we have a huge round of applause for her?
Hello and welcome. A very good evening to all of you from all of us at the Indian Express. માનનીય ભૂપેન્દ્રભાઈ પટેલ સાહેબ આપનું હાર્દિક સ્વાગત કરીએ છીએ અમે ઇન્ડિયન એક્સપ્રેસ સમૂહ તરફથી. This is our first such event in the States of Hope series in Gujarat that has taken off with a meaningful and animated discussion by a panel of experts who spoke on infrastructure, the promise of transformational development. We are indeed privileged to have Honorable Chief Minister Bhupendrabhai Patel here with us to give an insight into the role infrastructure has played in the state's progress and what the future looks like. His government has recently announced 9 more municipal corporations in the state, thus expanding the expanse of the urban space. Gujarat has also opened the first offshore campus of a foreign university and will bid for the 2036 Olympic Games and is gearing up to ride the first bullet train in the country. There could have been no better place than Gujarat to talk about infrastructure and how it has become a quiet but very powerful determinator of the physical and social landscape. We at the Indian Express thought it only appropriate to bring together some of the key stakeholders from Gujarat, a state that has been a leading light to set the ball rolling. With its history of trade and enterprise, its intrinsic entrepreneurial character, Gujarat has been known for setting standards and benchmarks and thus has been an important part of the country's growth story. Besides, there has always been a curiosity around Gujarat. What will be its next wow moment? Many wonder. Being at the top, however, comes with its own set of challenges, the biggest being how to continue to stay ahead and create sustainable systems and spaces. The state has also been lucky to have leaders who identified and optimized these attributes and helped Gujarat become a leader in its own right. Bhupendrabhai, એવું કહેવાય છે કે ગુજરાત જ્યારે બોલે છે લોકો ઉત્સુકતાથી સાંભળે છે. When Gujarat speaks, the world sits up to listen. આજે અમે બધા અહીંયા આવ્યા છીએ આપને સાંભળવા માટે ઉત્સુકતાથી. પ્લીઝ આપનું સ્વાગત કરીએ છીએ, હાર્દિક સ્વાગત કરીએ છીએ સાહેબ. પ્લીઝ આવો. Saib, apna be shabdo, please welcome. With a huge round of applause.
અત્યારે તો દેશ અને દુનિયા બધાએ ગુજરાત જે બોલે છે સાંભળે છે, આપણને ખ્યાલ જ છે અને બધાની નજર એમના ઉપર જ છે. इंडियन एक्सप्रेस द्वारा आयोजित स्टेट्स ऑफ होप कार्यक्रम में अपनी सौनी साथे उपस्थित गुजरात के रेसिडेंट एडिटर श्री लीना मिश्रा जी और आप सब आमंत्रित मेहमान और सब सुयज्ञवाचक गण, आप सबको मेरा नमस्कार. विश्व के सर्वाधिक लोकप्रिय नेता और देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व और मार्गदर्शन में गुजरात की विकास यात्रा और भविष्य के आयोजनों को जानने के लिए स्टेट्स ऑफ गुजरात इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर द प्रॉमिस ऑफ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन डेवलपमेंट का यह पैनल डिस्कशन एक उत्तम मंच है। इंडियन एक्सप्रेस ग्रुप को मैं इस इवेंट के आयोजन के लिए धन्यवाद देता हूँ। हाल ही में गुजरात में 2 घटनाएं हुई हैं जो गुजरात के नेचर को दिखाती है। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बेट द्वारका को जोड़ते हुए सुदर्शन सेतु का लोकार्पण किया, साथ ही समुद्र में डूबी प्राचीन द्वारका नगरी को वंदन किया। यह है गुजरात की पहचान, जहां विरासत भी है और विकास भी है। आज देश में प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारत में विरासत की पुनर्स्थापना के साथ फ्यूचरिस्टिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है। भारत में एक और काशी विश्वनाथ कॉरिडोर और उज्जैन महाकाल कॉरिडोर बना है, तो दूसरी ओर करीब 35 किलोमीटर प्रतिदिन की गति से हाईवे का निर्माण हो रहा है। एक तरफ राम मंदिर का निर्माण हुआ, तो दूसरी ओर देश में प्रधानमंत्री योजना तहत 4 करोड़ आवास और 17 नए एम्स का भी निर्माण हुआ है। आज प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में अभूतपूर्व स्पीड और स्केल पर देश में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। देश के शहर भारत में ही बनी सेमी हाई स्पीड वंदे भारत ट्रेन से जुड़ रहे हैं। आज करीब 82 वंदे भारत ट्रेन है, जिसे आने वाले 3 वर्षों में 400 तक ले जाने का टारगेट है। बीते 10 वर्षों में एयरपोर्ट की संख्या 74 से बढ़कर 149 हो गई है। आज देश में बड़े शहरों में मेट्रो ट्रेन की सुविधा भी बढ़ रही है। 2014 में केवल 5 शहरों में मेट्रो का नेटवर्क था, आज करीब 20 से अधिक शहरों तक पहुंच गया है। तब मेट्रो ट्रेन का नेटवर्क 248 किलोमीटर था, वह आज बढ़कर 862 किलोमीटर से अधिक हो गया है। आज भारत में विश्व की सबसे ऊंची प्रतिमा स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी, विश्व की सबसे लंबी टनल अटल टनल और देश का सबसे लंबा रेल रोड ब्रिज बोगीबिल ब्रिज जैसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हुआ है। देश का पहला वर्टिकल लिफ्ट ब्रिज पम्बन ब्रिज का काम प्रगति में है। देश के हर गांव तक बिजली पहुंची है। हर घर नल से जल पहुंचाने के लिए मोदी जी ने निरंतर परिश्रम कर रहे हैं। ये पिछले 10 वर्षों में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हुआ देश का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विकास है, जिसने देश के लोगों के जीवन में बहुत ही सहजता से बदलाव लाया गया है। गुजरात सौभाग्यशाली है क्योंकि गुजरात को 20 से अधिक वर्षों से मोदी जी के नेतृत्व का लाभ मिला है और बीते 10 वर्षों में डबल इंजन सरकार ने विकास के अनेक बेंचमार्क स्थापित किए हैं। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में गुजरात देश का पहला राज्य बना जिसके पास अपना गैस ग्रिड, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ग्रिड और वाटर ग्रिड है। नर्मदा के बाढ़ में बहे जाने वाले पानी का मैनेजमेंट करके कैनाल नेटवर्क के माध्यम से कच्छ के आखिरी गांव तक पानी ले जाने में हम सफल हुए हैं। जब विश्व में रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी का लेकर सिर्फ चर्चाएं हो रही थी, तब मोदी जी ने गुजरात में उसी समय का सबसे बड़ा चारणगा का सोलर पार्क स्थापित किया था। आज प्रधानमंत्री जी के मार्गदर्शन में कच्छ में खावड़ा में एशिया का सबसे बड़ा हाइब्रिड रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी पार्क का निर्माण किया जा रहा है। इसी तरह पोर्ट्स की बात करें तो गुजरात में लगभग 49 पोर्ट्स ऑपरेशनल है। मोदी जी ने गुजरात में पोर्ट लेड डेवलपमेंट की संकल्पना दी थी, जिसके कारण आज देश में सर्वाधिक कार्गो हैंडलिंग कैपेसिटी गुजरात की है। हाल ही में कुछ महीने पहले प्रधानमंत्री जी ने विश्व के सबसे बड़े ऑफिस कॉम्प्लेक्स सूरत डायमंड बुर्स को भी देश को समर्पित किया है। देश का पहला एकमात्र फाइनेंशियल टेक सिटी गिफ्ट आज विश्व के फिनटेक्स के लिए देश का गेटवे बना है। मारुति, टाटा, फोर्ड, होंडा जैसी कंपनियों की गुजरात में उपस्थिति से गुजरात देश का ऑटो हब बना है। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व और मार्गदर्शन में देश का पहला सेमीकंडक्टर प्लांट भी कुछ ही समय में गुजरात में ऑपरेशनल होने जाएगा। इतना ही नहीं, हाल ही में केंद्र सरकार ने यह फैसला किया है गुजरात के धौलेरा में 2 और नए सेमीकंडक्टर यूनिट्स लगाए जाएंगे। इस मंच के माध्यम से गुजरात को इस उपहार के लिए मैं एक बार फिर आदरणीय श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रति धन्यवाद व्यक्त करता हूं। हमारी इन तैयारियों से आप यह अंदाज़ा लगा सकते हैं कि गुजरात को देश का सेमीकंडक्टर हब बनाने के लिए हमारी तैयारियां कितनी बेहतर हैं। गुजरात में आज रेल, रोड, पोर्ट और एयरपोर्ट कनेक्टिविटी विश्व स्तर की हो गई है, जो गुजरात को विदेश व्यापार के लिए एक उत्तम स्थान बनाती है। 20 वर्ष में गुजरात में 55 बिलियन US$ से अधिक का विदेशी निवेश आया है। गुजरात में उपलब्ध ह्यूमन रिसोर्स, बेहतर कानून व्यवस्था, बिजनेस फ्रेंडली पॉलिसी और स्टेबल गवर्नमेंट के कारण आज हमारा राज्य व्यापार और उद्योग के लिए अनुकूल राज्य बना है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व और मार्गदर्शन में गुजरात पॉलिसी ड्रिवन स्टेट बना है। हमने राज्य में सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक पॉलिसीज़ का गठन किया है, जो गुजरात में विविध क्षेत्रों के विकास को बल देता है। इसी तरह श्री नरेंद्र भाई का एक और ब्रेन चाइल्ड कॉन्सेप्ट वाइब्रेंट गुजरात समिट ने भी राज्य के विकास को एक नई ऊंचाई देने में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई है। 2003 से 2024 तक इसके 10 एडिशन आयोजित हो चुके हैं और इस इवेंट ने उद्योग, निवेश और रोजगारी के मामलों में एक के बाद एक नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित किए हैं। जनवरी 2024 में आयोजित की गई वाइब्रेंट समिट की सफलता ने प्रदेश में उभरते क्षेत्रों के लिए विकास के कई नए द्वार खोले हैं। ट्रेडिशनल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर्स के साथ साथ आज गुजरात का फोकस नए उभरते सेक्टर्स सेमीकंडक्टर, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन, ईवी, एरोस्पेस और डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग जैसे सेक्टर्स का भी काफ़ी अधिक है। प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के ग्रीन ग्रोथ के विज़न पर आगे बढ़ते हुए इस बार की वाइब्रेंट समिट में हुए 50% से अधिक MOU ग्रीन ग्रोथ के क्षेत्र में हुए हैं। 10th वाइब्रेंट समिट की सफलता को देखते हुए मैं यह विश्वास से कह सकता हूं कि अमृत काल की पहली वाइब्रेंट समिट 2047 में विकसित भारत के निर्माण की नींव के रूप में उभरी है। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने 2047 तक विकसित भारत के निर्माण का संकल्प लिया है। गुजरात देश का पहला राज्य है जिसने इस संकल्प को हासिल करने के लिए पूरा रोड मैप तैयार किया है और विज़न डॉक्यूमेंट विकसित गुजरात और एट 2047 को लॉन्च किया है। इस डॉक्यूमेंट के माध्यम से हमने देश के सामने पूरा रोड मैप रखा है कि कैसे गुजरात 2047 तक विकसित गुजरात बनेगा और प्रधानमंत्री जी के विकसित भारत के सपने को साकार करने में अपना सर्वाधिक योगदान देगा। इस पैनल डिस्कशन के विचार विमर्श से गुजरात निश्चित ही विकसित भारत 2047 को निर्माण में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट से विकसित गुजरात 2047 बनकर योगदान देगा। इस विश्वास के साथ मैं मेरी वाणी को विराम देता हूँ। भारत माता की जय। वंदे मातरम। जय जय गरवी।
Thank you so much, Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel ji, for those inspiring words. Now, may I invite Mr. Uni Rajan Shankar, editor, The Indian Express, to present a token of appreciation to our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel, for being our chief guest for the evening. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? This illustration is by Mr. Suvajit De. Moving on to the group photograph, may I invite Mr. Ajay Patel, Chairman, GSC Bank on the stage, Mr. Tushar Bhatt, Managing Director, Gujarat Informatics Limited on the stage, Dr. Dhaval Patel, Commissioner, Gujarat Aviation. May I request every one of you to please join us on the stage for the group photograph. Mr. Rajkumar Beniwal, Managing Director, Gujarat Urban Development Mission, Mr. Rohit Patel, Gujarat Urban Development Company, Mr. Vineet Menon, CEO, Farms and Pharmaceuticals. मैं आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगी प्लीज़ हमें ग्रुप फोटो के लिए स्टेज पे ज्वाइन कीजिए. Mr. Vivek Agarwal, Business Head, Encode Solution, Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizers and Chemicals. Mr. Anil Chandran, Associate Director and Business Head, Unison Insurance Broking Private Limited. Thank you so much, everyone. You can take your respective seats. And once again, I would like to thank Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel ji for joining us and making this occasion more special. Can we have a huge round of applause for him once again? आप अपना कीमती समय निकाल कर यहाँ पर आए उसके लिए तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा. And may I request everyone else to please be seated? So this event wouldn't have been possible with the support of our partners. Our presenting partner Adani Group, co-presenting partner Gujarat Informatics Limited and WordWizard Innovations and Mobility Limited, our associate partners Farmson Pharmaceuticals Gujarat Private Limited, Unison Insurance Broking Private Limited, Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University, ONGC Cambay Asset, Indian Oil Corporation, Gujarat Refinery, Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizers and Chemicals, Gujarat Energy Development Agency, Gujarat Urban Development Company, Gujarat Urban Development Mission, Gujarat State Aviation Infrastructure Company Limited. Thank you once again to everyone for joining us today and making this event an unparalleled success. And thank you once again, Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel ji, for joining us on this occasion. Can we end our day with a huge round of applause?